Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, the creator and host of the award-winning podcast that you're listening to right now. Thank you so much, called Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. It is a daily podcast, 365 days a year, and each day we talk to an author about all of the things related to their career, their book, their life, and more in 30 minutes or less, because who has time? I am now an author myself, although I wasn't when I started this podcast, and you can get my new memoir, Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature, wherever books are sold starting July 1st, and my children's book, Princess Charming. You can learn more about me at zibbyowens.com, but really you're here to learn more about the authors, and that is what we're going to do. Also, be sure to check out all the other podcasts in the Zcast Podcast Network. You can learn more at zcastnetwork.com and definitely check out those shows as well. I hope you'll all check out the all-new Zibby Mag, Zibby-Mag, the literary lifestyle destination with essays, book news, a lit lifestyle feature, and even some classes. Check it out, zibbymag.com. This episode is one of my favorites. I interviewed Ralph Macchio. His book is called Waxing On, The Karate Kid and Me. For any other child of the 80s like me, you will probably be equally excited, although now, of course, he has this major resurgence. All right, let me read his bio. An actor, producer, director with an extensive list of credits, Ralph Macchio is best known for his celebrated performance as Johnny in Francis Ford Coppola's The Outsiders, the hit film My Cousin Vinny, and most notably for the title role in the popular classic The Karate Kid and its successors. Expanding further on the Karate Kid universe, Ralph continues to reprise his iconic role of Daniel LaRusso in the hit Netflix series Cobra Kai. He lives on Long Island with his family. Enjoy. Okay, welcome, Ralph. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss Waxing On, The Karate Kid and Me.
Thank you. Great to be here, and I appreciate the time.
Oh my gosh. As a child of the 80s, I'm 46. I have everything you went through in this book. I was like, yes, that. Yes, the 1986 Mets. Like, yes, that movie. Yes, everything. So thank you for the flashback there.
Yeah. Well, I felt it was so timely to kind of tell a story that only I could tell, which is what it was like from the incarnation of getting the call to audition for this little movie with the silly title and where it's taking me up until today. And it's still evolving. It's really, what I've learned from it, what I've gained from it, things I would have, maybe done over, but never looked down upon. And yet, and then a little of the untold behind the scenes, the making ofs and all that stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited for people to hopefully, go out and read it. Yes.
Daniel with an L. Didn't even know that wasn't part of the script.
That's right.
There you go.
That was a throwaway. I was like, how come she gets a line? It's interesting when you talk about Allie with an I, Daniel with an L, and I tell that story of the audition with Elizabeth Shue and the great director John Avildsen, who directed the original Karate Kid films and Rocky, to name another little one that still stands the test of time.
I've heard of it,
He created, he wanted to create comfort. And I was so nervous, not first auditioning for the movie, but auditioning with the love interest. It was all new for me, so I was trying to be like a guy who had many girlfriends and brought in my little false bravado, East Coast cockiness. And that became part of Daniel LaRusso. His sweetness is always there, but he had this, and so that Daniel with an L ad lib, as small as it is, was part of the exploration of, nuance of character. And I credit John with that. And obviously, Lisa Shue and it's one small little story.
Well, after you mentioned in the book, the YouTube test reels, I had to go back and watch those too.
Right?
So
I thought that was good. It's like a visual aid that you get with hard copy.
Yeah, I watched and my kids are like, what's wrong? It's so grainy. And I'm like, no, this is from the 80s. And it was like a whole movie basically. So
it was. There's a big JVC camera. He would always have his camera like this. And no matter what we did, he was always videotaping the experience, the exploration of just, existing. And that's a great filmmaker. That's why, you have these characters that still resonate all around the world. It's really quite remarkable.
I found it really interesting. You talk, of course, about the fame and what it was like in the backseat of the movie, and even watching the premiere and coming out, and all of a sudden you were like overnight celebrity, even though you had obviously been in the outsiders and everything. And that I kind of expected. Like I'm totally interested. I wanted to know what it was like. But what I didn't expect was the parts when you were talking about trying to sort of find your footing after that period of time and trying to find your way into new roles, and how you felt like you were so typecast, and like, how could you get around being the Karate Kid and actually find new roles, and what that felt like to you in that time. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the book is sort of broken up into, not by, it's partially by design, but it works out that the first third is really about getting the part and the making of the movie and the behind the scenes untold stories of how this happened, how did we catch that fly with chopsticks, and it looked easy but it wasn't, and some of what I was feeling and all the experience of that. And the second act is, if you will, is after the crane takes flight, after that summer of 84, the success, and then the sort of the ebbs and flows of it all, and the dry times of the lean years. And then the last third is kind of the lessons of the experience. But yeah, those, that late, after My Cousin Vinny, I mean, I started feeling it before then, but certainly after My Cousin Vinny, things kind of dried out. And even getting the part in My Cousin Vinny, and I write to this, was not easy. The studio didn't want me. I was off the list. Italian guy from New York, Joe Pesci's cousin. Nah, he's not right. It's like, no, I think you might be right. But I was starting feeling that even before that point. And so, it was frustrating. It was challenging, and looking young for my age. I talk about that too, that frozen in time element that is essence of me, being tied to this role, and then looking young for my age. So I had a double-edged sword trying to navigate to the next chapter, if you will, pun intended. It was hard at times, and it was challenging to make sense of it. I understood it, so it wasn't challenging to make sense of it because I did understand it. But you still want to be able to control your own destiny there, and you, as an actor, you really, unless you're creating it yourself, it's very hard to control that. So I needed to learn. And being someone who likes to control things and needs to release my grip, I'm still working on that today. It became about, okay, how could I fulfill myself creatively? How could I provide for my family? How could I do all these things and still not get sucked under? I never went down the path where I fell down the slippery slope. Most memoirs are about that, the crash and burn, and how did I climb out, and the redemption story. I joke that I am the anti-E-True Hollywood story. I've been married 35 years. My kids are awesome. We all have our things. We're normal, we have our challenges and arguments and such, but we navigate through it, and the foundation is strong, so Miyagi-ism, the roots are strong. Yes. You let the tree grow. So the book has that in it too, because so to answer your question, it was, I've been gifted the blessing of this role, not to mention my entire career that has now become so relevant. It's never gone away, but it is at another level. And that's why it just seemed the right time for this book. When I walk down the street, I have 14, 12-year-old kids. They're the ones running up. They see this show and then they back themselves into the movie and they watch it with their parents or their dads or their moms. And it's kind of a legacy I'm so proud of and feel blessed to have been given the gift of that opportunity. That it's quite a unique journey, but I survived the dry times by, always keeping one foot in, one foot out, and balancing it. There's another Miyagi-ism. See, I tie it all.
I like
it's a great script.
Full
it's a
circle.
Great script. It's a great script by Robert Mark Kamen. He deserved the credit. He wrote the original Karate Kid film, and there's life lessons throughout the whole thing that are still bearing fruit to this day.
So true. Wow. Well, I have to say, Cobra Kai is amazing, as you know, but it's so genius the way you use the old clips and the dynamic with. I mean, it's just amazing. It's like it's every show should do this. I mean, it's so well done. It's genius. Really
well,
awesome.
the guys who create it are they're super Karate Kid fans. And it's the only way to do it. You have to care.
Yeah.
Really have to care. It's not just a cash grab. It's really, how could we enhance this and keep this legacy going? And every actor who comes in from the original film franchise, they just knock it out of the park. One better than the other. It's really pretty awesome.
So cool. To go back to a Miyagi-ism, if you will, about balance, you were saying even the crane pose, right? It requires so much. And that's how you had to approach your own life and your family and everything. And you just said quickly as an aside, oh yeah, I was married 35 years, which I feel like I would like to have an entire podcast just talking about, to be honest. What is the secret to that? Not only balance with like the intensity of your career and the ebbs and flows of that, but sustaining the same relationship that you've had. You were dating your wife when you went to the premiere of Karate Kid. So you guys have been through, I mean, I can't even think, but what is the secret there? What are some of the lessons that everybody else should take back to their own marriages?
Okay, a decent amount of credit needs to go to the partner. So my wife Phyllis is a big amount of credit goes to her, and being that person who can deal with the fame part of it and sort of walk in lockstep and support throughout. So that takes, not everyone can do that. She's a nurse practitioner. She is a caregiver. She is a people pleaser, people person, way more so than I am. I'm a little more selfish, but then it's a little more me. But not totally, but we balance each other, and it's there was certainly times and days and weeks and months that were more challenging than others, but it's always the eye. I don't want to say eye. Sorry, that's mine. I'm not going to say eye on the prize, but there's eye on the importance of the foundation of what we are as a couple. When all the crap isn't there, it's the focus on knowing what that is. So knowing the minutia and all the crap that's thrown at you day to day, and navigating this thing called life that is so challenging, and raising kids. And that our biggest arguments were always about raising the kids. You really, because everyone's doing that for the first time. You could have the manual and whatever you want, you're going to fail constantly. She has, but at the end of it, when you clear away all the dust and the fog, if you believe in what that foundation is, and what that couplehood is, and what life is together, that kind of galvanizes the focus point and clears it up. And then you open a window again and there's all crap and it gets in the way, and this bothers you and that bothers you, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but being blessed with the right person is a good start.
Yes, there's the hack.
Yeah. That's the disclaimer that says, oh, I just didn't fix it for everybody.
What did you think about putting in the book, but then you're like, no, maybe that's too personal, so you kept it out?
Good question. And I would say that would be, there's one section where I speak about a point where I was sort of out of balance in my career and life, and my marriage and family was taking stress on both. I could have potentially gone into explanation of what all that was. And I chose not to dive, because that would become too personal. And that's not the book I'm writing anyway. It is personal to me and what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And so if I was going to give details about someone else in my life, then it would cross a line that didn't feel right for this specific book.
Got it. That makes sense. If there was like a good friend of yours who read the book, do you think this is what they would say about you? Like, is there some piece of you that is not 100% here? Like some part of your sense of humor, or, I mean, you're obviously very funny, or is there anything you feel like those who know you best don't see represented? Not a moment like I asked before, but just like a piece of you, or not really?
Yeah, I would say something that I probably didn't dive deep into is that if I get to that point of overwhelm on a day, I do occasionally snap. I do it not in an insane way, but I'm not, the wind does not stop and go around me. It does affect me. So there are those people that I use that analogy. That's God, it's like the wind doesn't even, your hair's not even moving. I'm like, I can't even hang on to my hat right now. And so I guess if there's one thing, I've come out of it sticking the landing,
Yeah.
but sometimes I wobble on impact.
That's good. So you've had the opportunity to act at every stage of your life. And now you're in a new show. You have a chance. It's like a do-over. I know we don't get a do-over with our kids necessarily, although maybe the younger kids get the benefit, but that's okay. Anyway, when you're now in a new show, what are you taking with you? Like, are you calmer in general about it? Or do you feel like the years and all of the past experience have made you even better at this character? Like, now coming back to it, what does it look like? Or is it the same?
No, that's a good question, because it's actually the pressure of, the responsibility. I won't even say pressure. The responsibility of a character, this young Daniel LaRusso character, who's represented a piece of people's childhood, pop culture, impactful, inspirational character. There was a responsibility that I needed to deliver on where that character would have wound up. And not always was that in the script of Cobra Kai. We would debate at times with the creators of the show, who are brilliant and care so much. But there would be times where Daniel LaRusso's actions, and from my perspective, would not support how I would have thought he would have landed. But a full canvas of Cobra Kai, the reason for that is because then it gets us from point A to point B in the story. So that's been, it hasn't been just totally effortlessly easy. It's been conscious and conscientiously navigated. And I think at the end of it, everyone cares so much that the best foot forward winds up working. I mean, that's a kind of convoluted answer, but it required, it wasn't like, oh, good, I'm playing Daniel LaRusso again. This is a piece of cake. I'll just be Daniel LaRusso. It's like, I have a responsibility. This character is way bigger than the actor who played the part. He's meant the world to so many people. So it was probably more pressure than I needed to put on myself for it, but it's because I care and I'm protective.
Well, I love even that you start the show with trying to like be generous to a former rival. Like, that's just great. Why not? Yeah, bonsai tree. Here, take it. Just take it. So funny. So what do you do when you're not hard at work, producing shows and acting and whatever? Like, what do you like to do on the weekends?
The weekend I'll watch. I mean, this weekend I watched some sports, which was kind of nice in between a lot of these types of discussions. So sometimes not speaking and just watching someone else is kind of refreshing. I'm a sports fan, so I do enjoy, my New York Jets very rarely come out of it, but had a big comeback win yesterday. And my Mets lost 3 in a row to Atlanta, and it's not looking great. And the hockey season starts. So there's sports, there's good food, nice wine here or there with the food. I really enjoy tasting great wines with different foods and music, and listening to music, all different types. Watching sunsets if I'm going to go there, and sometimes sunrises if I get enough sleep. I enjoy, because I still marvel at the fact that we're on this planet and the sun comes up and it just continues, and as crazy as it all is and difficult and challenging, seemingly more so than ever, it's nice to just, I guess, stop and smell the roses, as they say.
Yeah.
So,
I was on a plane with my kids over the weekend, and I was like, isn't it so crazy that like we all just accept that rain is just a part of life? Like,
right.
Okay, today we're all going to get wet, and like there's going to be water and we're all just like, oh yeah, okay, put up the umbrella, don't even think about it. The natural world is like so amazing in all of its ways. You just don't even stop. So yeah, I agree. Do you feel like the process of writing this memoir is one you would want to repeat? Like, are you now like, oh yeah, authors, I get it. I totally want to do this again.
I do. Well, there were some days when I was looking at the flashing cursor on my screen, just saying, the crane takes flight. How do I start this chapter? And then all of a sudden something clicks and it does get exciting. And then you've find the angle in and how to, tell the story and hopefully visually tell the story. That's the thing I tried to do as much as I could. Visually tell the story and make it a conversation for me. And I'm hearing from folks that that's coming across. So I'm really, the fact that is the case, it lends me, it leads me to want to explore it more, maybe in the world of a children's book, maybe in the world of a YA book, to, give back, I like, when I work on Cobra Kai, I really enjoy working with the young actors because I think they're listening to me. And not that I have all the wisdom and anything else, but if there's one little piece of something I gained from someone I worked with and I could hand off the piece of that legacy, that's rewarding. I guess that's what a teacher feels like, when you make an impact on someone, you have an impact on someone. So I enjoy that. And with writing, I see, I'll know and soon enough once the book is actually really out, but hopefully people buy it and embrace it. And it's a positive thing. And I'd love to, look at other chapters.
No, it's great because it feels like a friend telling you the story. Like you're so approachable in the way you write it. It's like as if you were just as if this happened to anybody, that it could have just as easily happened and you were just taking us along for the ride.
Honesty was being honest and I guess you could use the word humble, but really honesty is what I wanted to and the pros and the cons of my journey.
And the humor. I liked the humor a lot.
I got a humor. Self-deprecation is my favorite hobby.
That's great. Well, what advice would you have for people who either want to get into writing or want to get into entertainment and they don't know what to do? I mean, what's your go-to line for those types?
Well, I think that, being creative is something you can always do. There should be no reason not to be creative if you feel you have that. Making a living at it is a whole other story, of course. But someone could write and, you could create with being able to reach people through your computer. You could write blogs, you could create your own content. And so I don't think that ever should be, I don't think anything should deter a person who wants to express themselves. There is that point if you have 2 kids and your mortgage is out and you can't make a living at it, that you might have to do it on the side.
Yeah.
So that I can't answer that, but I say always be creative if it's in your bones. And if you have something to say, it doesn't make any sense to stifle it unless it's obviously something detrimental and negative to mankind. And so that would not be good.
That would not be good. Thank you for that. Last question, book publicity, movie publicity. Preference?
I'm learning. Well, it is different. It is different because there are more deeper dives into speaking with you, and it's not your 6 minutes on a news show to say, hey, here's a clip, check it out. So there's an up and a downside to here's a clip, check it out. The upside is you're in and out quick. And the downside is you're not really getting the story. And so if you want someone to invest the time and expense to read your book or listen to the audiobook or whatever, I think it benefits to get to know a little bit more and feel that you're looking to further that conversation as opposed to just click on it and drop your $20 or $30 or whatever it is. So I get it. Well, on that note, I have to do a pre-interview for Jimmy Fallon. So now I have to put on that hat.
All right. That's a much swankier hat. So you go. Thanks for giving me more than 6 minutes of your time. I appreciate it.
It all counts. I appreciate it.
No problem. Congratulations. It's great. Okay. Take care. Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.